He also did just cast the Steel Shaper's Gift, getting Konda's banner. That's going to make them even bigger, so he is all in on the anthems. The tokens are 6/6s? Oh my. Yep, that's a whole bunch of 6/6s that are attacking. That's going to be a Settle the Wreckage.
Today on Commander Replay, we grade the Professor's Wyleth control deck. Can the Professor get a passing grade? Find out next on Commander Replay. Help support me and save 15% on singles by using the promo code REPLAY at mothershipaTX.com. Commander Replay t-shirts, available in orange and colors beside orange.
Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Wyleth Soul of Steel today, and this is the Professor's deck list with the video he just posted on Wyleth Control. Let's take a look at this opener. We've got 2 lands with the flip land. That's a little dicey. No equipment, no ramp. I think we mulligan that. Into lands, ramp, and equipment. Love it. Keep that one. So, I haven't played this deck yet. Here's my initial take. Overall, I think the premise of the deck is solid. Wyleth does draw a lot of cards, so building a control deck around it is not the worst idea. It's maybe not exactly the direction I would go, or at least, like, calling it a control deck might be a little bit of a misnomer. But I do think the overall premise is very reasonable. My main questions are, is the balance of cards right? Are there enough equipments and auras to be able to trigger Wyleth properly? Because Wyleth does have a size problem where it's not very big, and once opponents get some creatures down, it's actually pretty hard to block. That does bring it to our first turn. We'll just drop in the Clifftop Retreat since nothing to do on one. We'll pass like that. So I am worried about the balance of spells to equipments and auras. That's definitely a big thing to pay attention to with this deck. And beyond that, there's a couple card choices that I wasn't in love with, and I'll talk about those in a second. I did make about 4 or 5 changes from his list. Opponent's got a bunch of stuff going on in turn 1, so opponent got a Wayfarer's Bauble on their first turn, follows it up with a Talisman on their second. Ween's got a Shadow Spear on his first turn. All seems pretty good. And while that's going on, we'll take a peek at the cards I switched out. So I changed a couple lands in the deck. They had Den of the Bugbear, which is like 10 tickets on Magic Online, and just like, that land's not worth 10 tickets to me. So we skipped that one, put in a Homeward Path and a Myriad Landscape, because those are cards you just don't ever want to run without, especially Homeward Path in a Boros Voltron deck with low creature count. You cannot afford to have your commander stolen. One that was missing noticeably was Sunhome. Added that one in. So a couple changes in the lands. Also, I think I didn't get it in here, but I looked at it at one point. Bonder's Enclave is one that should be here as well. But moving into the non-lands, so he had Rebuff the Wicked in the deck. Rebuff the Wicked is not a good Magic card. I've tried to make it work for years. 75% of the time, the thing that's blowing up your stuff is a triggered ability from a creature, usually Rexage. Rebuff the Wicked does nothing for this, so Blacksmith Skill and Faith Shield are the card you actually want when you think you want to rebuff the Wicked. I've just never found a situation where Rebuff the Wicked does what I want it to, whereas Blacksmith Skill and Faith Shield are very, very good. So take your pick between those two. I chose to go with Blacksmith Skill right here, but Faith Shield for the unblockable can be really helpful. We'll flip back here real quick, take our turn, drop in this mountain, get the Talisman into play. We can get the Smothering Tide next turn. That seems pretty good. And we'll pass like that. A few other changes. Robe of the Stars, not yet available on Magic Online. So I decided to go with Unquestioned Authority because, like I said, I think Evasion's going to be very important here. So a very good Evasion card right there. Also, he had Illumination in the deck, a card that is also just kind of bad. So sub that out for a Dismantling Wave because I'll bring it up just in case none of you have seen it because not that many people run it because it's not very good. So white, counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Its controller gains life equal to its mana value. Like, if this card were mono red, you would probably play this card. But the fact that it's white means that you have tons of other good artifact enchantment removal, so there's just no reason to run this card because it has a very strict timing restriction on it, which is that card needs to be on the stack. And also, I don't like giving my opponent's value back when I don't have to, so I added Dismantling Wave instead, which is a very nasty Magic card. And Archaeomancer's map was also not available, so I added in a Volcanic Offering instead because he said control, so want to pop some creatures and some lands, this is a way to do it. But overall, mana curve looks nice and low. Potentially a little too low. There were no 5-drops in the deck. Volcanic Offering was the one that I added, so, you know, that could be a thing. Because especially if you're slowing the game down, right? If you are truly playing control, you are going to slow the game down, and that means if the game goes late, you do want to have a couple big things that you can go to. Having only Aurelia to go to may not be enough. So, there are reasons where you could put an Elish Nor and a Gisela. Maybe something, a Stonehewer Giant at 5 mana would be very solid. Sun Titan is incredible. Inferno Titan is very reasonable. Atali is a game winner. So, like, any of that type of stuff. So I do worry that this deck might be a little too low to the ground. Very possible. Kind of just depends on if we draw Hearth and Home and Aurelia and we can execute that combo, I think is probably what this deck's going to come down to. So, but overall, like I said, I think the premise is solid. There's a couple card choices that I disagree with that I would definitely sub out. But I think this can work. Now, earlier when I said control might be a misnomer, if I were going to build this deck from scratch, I would probably run about 15 pieces of removal, which is, it's not quite a control deck, but it's definitely a lot of removal. 15 pieces of removal is basically like 25% of your non-lands being removal. And given the fact that Wyleth draws a lot, I don't necessarily know that you need to go over that count. Because the thing with Wyleth is there is just a lot of incentive to be aggressive with it, and you want to strike that balance of having all the aggressive stuff that you want and having enough removal to slow down your opponents. Like, you don't need to control the entire table all game if you have Wyleth in play with a couple good things on it. People will die in a matter of turns if that's the case. So the way to think about it is slowing down the game long enough for you to do your thing, right? You don't need to just completely lock everyone down every single turn. It's just buying yourself enough time to execute your own plan. That's kind of a better way to think about it, instead of calling it a straight control deck, which has a little bit of a different meaning, I think. Anyway, it brings it back to our turn. We draw this Fury Snarl. Enters the battlefield, you may reveal a mountain or a plains. If you don't, it comes in tapped. So we'll play the Sunbaked Canyon. Then we will play the Smothering Tithe and see if opponents have artifact and enchantment removal. The good news is that'll probably protect the Hearth and Home. Oh, don't you even. Oh, God. So I'm activating mana. He activated the Endless Atlas. I thought he was going for a Mana Tithe. He has been playing a lot of Mana Tithe, and it is backbreaking. We pass Smothering Tithe trigger. While I was talking, opponent did get a Barrowin of Clan Under into play, and Fish got an Usher of the Fallen with a Bloodforge Battle Axe attached to it. Yep, those are pretty good. By the way, if you guys like this video, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. Noticeably absent from the Professor's deck list was Sword of Sinew and Steel. If you're talking about control, that's a sword with built-in removal. That's repeatable removal on top of all the other good things that it does. That's one that should definitely be in here. You can get a lot done with that card. You start seeing like Cage Suns on the battlefield, you're like, nope, not no more. Planeswalker you got to get rid of, because Planeswalker decks try to protect their Planeswalkers, it turns out. And the sword is a really easy way to get around that. Someone paid for a treasure, I didn't see who, but we only have one treasure at the moment. Adeline into play for Ryan, yeah. Talisman for opponent, seems good. Gonna swing the Usher of the Fallen over to Ryan, yep. See if they want to trade their 4-1 with the 1-4, I doubt they do. Notably, 3 white decks at the table. Sword of Hearth and Home seems pretty good in that scenario. Another Bloodforge Battle Axe trigger. They're a little tough in the early game, but those are the type of thing that can beat you in the late game if you don't blow them up. Because any creature can be giant. Probably a card you want for this deck, honestly. Because like I said, he does have a size problem. There's a Thought Vessel, so all of the 2-mana mana ramps. So this is interesting because I am not the biggest fan of Signets, and this is a very Signet-heavy type of deck. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land from it. They discard that card. Well, not going to love that because I bet it's going to be the Hearth and Home. Had plans for that. Yep, definitely the Hearth and Home. And that begs the question, is there a way to get anything back with this deck? And as I was looking at stuff, I don't think there is. That seems like a major problem. Savine's Reclamation, Sun Titan, probably your first go-tos. If you want something for the late game, Amaria Shepherd. Doretti's also not terrible. Did not appreciate that. Play the land. We don't have anything to drop in with it. Play Wyleth. Actually, let's get the Thought Vessel first. Then the Mind Stone. Then cast our commander. And we'll pass like that. We have ramped. We have ramped. Kind of more so on the hands of Smothering Tithe, necessarily, than the Signets. But having 3 Signets is good. But personally, I'd probably cut one and add a Thran Dynamo, because that's just the way I like to roll. Smothering Tithe. City of Brass trigger. Take a look at our opponent's commanders. So first up is Slivers R Us piloting Sefris of the Hidden Ways, which they cast. 3 mana 2/3. Whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, venture into the dungeon. Only triggers once each turn. Create undead. Whenever you complete a dungeon, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's kind of cool. I assume it's a dungeony, aristocrat-y style Esper reanimator thingy is what I think I'm seeing over there. In the middle, we've got Ryan piloting Adeline Resplendent Cathar, and one we've looked at on the channel. It's a pretty good deck. Pretty good mono white deck. Does a lot of nice things. The damage scales really well. It spits out a lot of bodies. If you find Skull Clamp, you're going to draw a lot of cards. I do think it's going to be toward the top of mono white commanders that are available for you to play. Probably somewhere in the top 5, top 10, that kind of thing. Sword of the Animist onto the Adeline. Yep, seems good. Gonna swing over to Fish. Yeah, Fish being highly aggressive. There's the Adeline trigger. Even though there is like some amount of risk to it, I am gonna block the 1/1. Hope that there's no like 1 damage or something like that from somewhere. But 2 opponents are tapped out, so I feel all right. Fish takes hit for 5. It's 5 commander and goes down to 29. Obsidian Battle Axe, cool card. Free equips to warriors and gives them 2/1 in haste. Fish, by the way, is piloting Alesha, who smiles at death, and from what I can tell, looks like a off-the-beaten-path type of Alesha. Swinging our way with the 4/1 again, not ideal. We see a lot of equipment, so maybe it's a more Voltron-y type of Alesha. I don't know. It's not the worst idea. Like, if you're not going full combo with Alesha, having a bunch of 2-power creatures get outclassed pretty quickly on the battlefield these days. So, it seems like an interesting idea. Opponent gets a token, and it gets a free equip to the Obsidian Battle Axe. Oh, you know what it probably is? It's probably Warrior Tribal. That's probably what they're doing. I see what's up now. Another Bloodforged Battle Axe trigger. Yep, that's going to be a problem later in the game. I mean, we have cards to deal with it. Vandal Blast, Austere Command, so on. We draw a Needle Spires. We'll hang on to that for just a second. Put Unquestioned Authority on our commander. In ETBs, we draw a card. It's a Settle the Wreckage, handy to have around. Does look like there's some aggro decks at the table. We will go to combat, swing into Fish. They did discard our sword, which I really wanted. We draw another land. So this is exactly the issue with being a control deck. We have 2 removal spells in hand with 2 lands. If these were 2 more swords, or like a sword extra combat spell, then we're easily able to run away with the game, potentially, from this point because we have a lot of mana. But because we're a quote-unquote control deck, we're still going to have to just like hang back and try to find more stuff before we can really take advantage how far ahead we actually are. Like if this were a Sinew Steel, we'd be blowing some stuff up. This is still a good card to have around, though. Question will be, when do we use it? Smothering Tithe of their own for opponent. It's always really bad when there's 2 of them at the table. 2 Smothering Tithe triggers. Ryan's going to attack us with the Adeline. I'm not super ready to start burning cards yet. That is some damage, though. I think we'll be okay. Rather save our spells. Gets Exalted, yeah. This is going to be a chunk of life. Dictate of Heliod coming down. Oh, that's some damage. That is some damage. They're going to trade this 3/3 with the 3/2. Got him with the flash. It's not something you get to see all that often. We go down to 21. It's a bigger hit than I was really looking to take. Opponent loses their commander and the Barrowin. Wow. They had blocked all the stuff. We'll lose 2 life. Yeah, we'll lose 2 life. I don't think there's a ton of lifelink in the deck. I think Rune of Sustenance is probably about it. On Sarah's Wings gives it also. Soul Raying for opponent. Brutal Horde Chief. Yeah, it's a warrior. That comes in free equip from the Battle Axe. 5/4 with haste. Equips the Battle Axe. Yep. Unfortunately, this is probably coming our way. No, going at Ryan. Fantastic. Love it. They'll lose 1 life from the Horde Chief. I'm going to draw our cards now so we can F6. Crack the Mind Stone. Wasteland is a card. We'll also crack the Sunbaked Canyon because we have mana at this point. We just need things to do with it. Paying for the Smothering Tithe. Nah, we'll be fine. Oh, nope. I accidentally used that to pay for the Smothering Tithe. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. It is what it is. They block with a 3/3. Shadow Spear is a pretty good pickup for us. Yeah, we'll pay. Play the Shadow Spear. Equip the Shadow Spear. See, this is a situation where I think I like Luxodon Warhammer a little bit better because we're still only doing 3 damage where we'd be doing 5 with Luxodon. But there is a lot of utility in that activated ability on the thing, but we're attacking to Ryan this time. We will draw 2. Probably a situation where you just want to run both, honestly, but Generous Gift in a land is fine. Trading in treasures for that? No. Want to keep up Settle the Wreckage and as much removal as possible. Make sure we don't die to stuff. Cracks a Wayfarer's Bauble, sure. Soul Ring for opponent. Triskaidekaphile. You have no max hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. Pay 4, draw a card. Well, that is kind of a wacky card. Yeah, I mean, that's the type of thing late in the game, if you don't have removal, they have a lot of mana. I mean, I guess it takes a lot of mana, but less with the training grounds. Stuff like that. Still, repeatable card draw like that, powerful stuff. See Kenrith, as an example. Ryan's going to Swords on the Usher of the Fallen. Sick of that thing running around. I probably would have went for the Horde Chief, honestly, but Horde Chief's pretty nasty. Thinking about hitting Ryan with a Settle the Wreckage this turn, because that'll leave him wide open, theoretically. And I'm guessing everyone else will kind of pile in that way, if that's the case. Although, we'll see where he attacks, because Spear of Heliod, yeah, there might be a reason to not burn our removal, because Steel Shaper's Gift. I think that's really the question with Adeline is, do you go for Anthem type stuff, or do you go for Voltron type stuff? You know, me being me, I'm more of a Voltron guy, but he also did just cast the Steel Shaper's Gift, getting Konda's Banner. One that I need to add to my own list is pretty sweet looking. Yeah, that's going to make them even bigger, so he is all in on the Anthems. The tokens will be huge. The tokens are 6/6s? Oh my. I mean, that might force us into just having to shoot something, because that's a lot of damage. Swinging over to Fish. It's going to be a big hit into Fish. Changes his mind. Goes forward again. 6/6 our way. Yeah, that means we have to Settle the Wreckage. Sword of the Animist. Yep, that's a whole bunch of 6/6s that are attacking. That's going to be a Settle the Wreckage. Fish has the potential to make a pretty explosive play right here because, one, they have haste with the Battle Axe, which means they can get a second creature in for extra damage, but also they can equip all these Bloodforged Battle Axes that have been coming down. So, I mean, he's ramped like crazy. That's why I'm not the biggest fan of Settle the Wreckage. I like Comeuppance more because Comeuppance doesn't give them anything back. Not to say it doesn't have some problems of its own. It doesn't hit indestructible creatures, doesn't hit creatures with uneven power and toughness, but it doesn't give them anything in return. Giving them a lot of lands is a thing that can bite you, especially if you're talking about a green deck that can draw like crazy. Not saying don't run it, just saying have that conversation with yourself. Be diligent about which one you're choosing to run, if you're only running one of them. Where Settle the Wreckage shines is indestructible creatures, so that's against Voltron decks and against Eldrazi are the two big things that tend to show up. Oh, his commander is stuck in exile. He is boned. Tons of damage on the Brutal Horde Chief right here. 13 damage. Gonna swing that into Ryan. Little Ryan on Ryan crime right there. Brutal Horde Chief down to 24. That is 4 more Bloodforged Battle Axe triggers. We'll draw with the Sunbaked Canyon. See if we can pick up another sword or something like that. Path Exile, nope. Yeah, see, that's the thing with the control deck. A lot of removal now. Now we can't put our foot on the gas when we want to. Alesha coming in. Yep. Slivers is going to play Bar the Gate. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell. Venture into the dungeon. They said it's been the only creature for a number of turns now. Yeah. Did we play a land last turn? We didn't get to play the land, did we? I think we might have. Oops. Well, Smothering Tithe, if it stays in play, almost makes your lands irrelevant. Sometimes it's good when you need that to be like the catch-up card you've been trailing all game, but it can also make someone just go really far ahead. Lose 2 life, sacrifice a creature, artifact, or land, we'll sacrifice a treasure. Life is getting low. Ryan down to 9. Gold Vein pick. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. Not paying. We should probably pay for that. Play the pick. Oh, you know what we can do? We can animate the Needle Spires. Get a little extra damage here. Play the Wasteland. Animate Needle Spires. Equip the pick. Do we want to draw 3 or do more damage? What's that? That's 7 damage. We'll just get him out of the game. His commander's stuck and he can't do anything, so we'll just try to clean him up. Swing into Ryan. On Sarah's Wings and Dismantling Wave are both really good cards. Not paying. Ryan saying thank God. Yeah, now he doesn't have to worry about the fact that his commander's exiled and he can't get to it, so. And down he goes, 2 Exaxes. We get 2 treasures out of it. Not sure if I want a Dismantling Wave yet. We can't cycle the Dismantling Wave. That would hurt us way too much, but the Bloodforged Battle Axes are a problem. Oh, accidentally F6'd, so we'll just have to wait anyway. We've got some removal, though. Sir Conrad is super nasty. Definitely worthy of some removal. 1/3 coming our way. 2/3 over to Fish. Approach the Second Sun. Oh, Okay, then. Well, the opponent just put a clock on this game. We're definitely gonna have to blow all this stuff up. We'll let Fish know what's up and just go ahead and swords. Actually, let's path it, because if they shuffle and get the land, then it won't be in the top. Theoretically. Sir Conrad gets exiled. Smothering Tithe triggers. Alesha coming in. Moves the Battle Axe. Equips a Bloodforged Battle Axe. It's Warriors and Axe Tribal. Lots of axes. That's a shot for 20. That'll cut him in half. We're still damage light. It's not something I love. Brutal Horde Chief. Gonna trigger twice. Alesha. No creatures. Only have 2 commander on Fish. Gonna take us a little while at our current pace to get there. 4 more Bloodforged Battle Axe. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. We have not blown up the artifacts. That can be a problem. Esper Sentinel is a magic card. Smothering Tide. Nope. Opponent's down to 19 after that giant attack. 9 commander. Put the pick on our commander. Put On Sarah's Wings on our commander. Vigilance is going to be a nice pickup right here, because we have protection from creatures, so now we can block all day long. Swing into the Slivers, not Slivers player. We'll draw with Wyleth. Dowsing Dagger, Soul Ring, Sword, Commander's Plate are all very good. Not paying. Yeah, opponent's going to draw a card. Probably should have shot the thing first. Well, triggers our Smothering Tithe. That being the case, let's just Swords it. We have Generous Gift in case of emergencies. Play a land, Soul Ring, Esper Sentinel, Commander's Plate, Sword of the Animist. Sword of the Animist on here. Leave up 3 for Generous Gift. I don't want to not have that up and get blown out by something. That's a Deluge X5. It's not great. We're gonna lose quite a few things I wanted. They pay. Down all the creatures go. Sefris trigger. Tome of Annihilation. Oh, they make the 4/4. I like to put boots on it. It's kind of annoying. We don't have haste yet, do we? We do not. Arcane Signet is their last card. Boots. Cast a creature, give it haste, put all the stuff on it. Seems like a play. Champion of Flame. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Free equip. Battle Axe. Another Battle Axe. It has a ton of power. So much power. Gonna swing it our way. Yep, that's not gonna work for us, so... Generous Gift the creature. Temple of Triumph. Play the Temple. Scry. Rayav is cool. Cast our commander. Oh, it's a warrior. Fish could equip this to it if they wanted to. So it'll give us the equip if we swing at Sliver. Yeah, let's do it. Need to get them out of the game. I mean, the Death Touch is still a concern for us. Oh, right, we have this thing. There's 8 damage. Tell me we're going to be 1 short. Equip this thing. Also, we are doing something that's not good, though, which is tapping out against Fish. Swing into the Slivers. We draw a bunch of stuff. Smothering Tithe triggers a bunch of times. So they take the hit, go down to 1. 14 commander. There's the Golden Pick trigger. And we'll pass like that. Feel a lot better if that Ghostly Prison was in play. We go up to 37. That helps. That helps. As much as Fish has, it's hard to kill us from 37. We did pick up an Aurelia in all of that, which is a way for us to close this game out quickly. Opponent recasts their commander. They're swinging our way. Yeah, we deserve it. Battle Axe onto the Elephant. Another Battle Axe onto the Elephant. There's actually a world in which Fish could just stay put right here. Yeah, they're going to swing our way. That also makes sense. All right, we have the Champion's Plate. No, changes their mind. Goes over to Slivers. Okay. Fish is at 5 commanders, so without a blocker, we can just take Fish down with Aurelia and Wyleth. So down they go to Fish's attack. Fish not in a great spot to handle what we have currently. There's a Heliod's Intervention. That's helpful. Play the Mountain. Play Aurelia. Equip the Sword of the Animus. We'll put it on Aurelia. Oh, we can also play Rayav as insurance right here. Just in case one of these things gets shot. Spot removal shows up. Yep, and they scoop right there. So down they go. So yeah, we were able to pilot this thing to victory. And I think that goes to show just how strong having a lot of removal is. I counted about 25 pieces of interaction in this deck, which is a lot. That is a lot. And that's a very effective thing to do, but it's not necessarily a very chill thing to do. So keep in mind where you're playing a deck like this. If your opponents are playing like precons or other like very fun casual type decks, then running 25 pieces of removal against them is not a good time for them. But as decks get stronger and stronger, having more removal is definitely something that can be in bounds. So just keep in mind where you're playing this deck. Overall, I give the Professor an A- for this deck list. I think it's pretty good. There's a couple card choices I would change, as I've talked about a little bit already. The premise is solid and definitely something that can win games and give you a really good opportunity because you have a ton of removal. And I think it's also worth mentioning that this deck list succeeds in what the professor was trying to do, which is make a control deck. When you call it a control deck, that means that your primary goal is control, and you're not as focused on the aggro. In that sense, I think it works. However, I do think the more effective way to play Wyleth is as an aggro deck first and a control deck second. So you can still run a lot of removal, but you are going to make a couple choices that prioritize being an aggro deck first, then being the control deck. And this is something that comes up with decks from time to time, is when you have a couple things going on in your deck, having that conversation of what is my main priority with this deck? If I want to be an aggro deck first, then I'm going to cut 10 pieces of removal from this list and add in 10 aggressive things. But if I want to be a control deck first, then it makes sense to have 25 or so pieces of removal. So with any deck, you can always ask yourself, what is the primary role of this deck? And then what is the secondary role? So that's a really good exercise to go through on a deck, especially if you're finding the deck is a little unfocused and not doing all the things you want it to do. But with all of that, let's talk about a couple card choices. Here's what I would change from this deck. So here's the list of stuff I would take out, and including, we'll put the 2 back in that I cut already. And like I said, there were 2 cards that weren't available on Magic Online. So, okay, so here's a bunch of cards that I would probably add to this list if it were my own. We've got Sinew and Steel. I talked about it a bunch during the game. That's repeatable removal for Artifact and Planeswalkers, protection and size. Luxodon I talked about. Sword of Vengeance is a lot of keywords and size that you want on Wyleth. Spirit Mantle for the evasion that we talked about. Fleet Feather Sandals, evasion, haste, good if you need to recast, or good if you're trying to get another creature down late that doesn't have haste. Sun Titan because it's big and can get our stuff back, and recursion seem to be lacking in the deck. Fervent Champion is crazy in the early game. This one I'm kind of 50-50 on for this particular deck because you really do want the swords on Wyleth to get the value. So, but it is really explosive early in the game, so there is that. Nahiri as a second way to get your equipments back, and I think the Wanderer is a great planeswalker to have if you're trying to be a control deck because you can exile creatures and you prevent yourself from red damage, which is fantastic. So, and there's a bunch of other stuff that I would love to add in here. I would love to get a Waves of Aggression in here, maybe 1 or 2 more big creatures, something that can act as a backup plan if Wyleth gets shot a lot of times, and just kind of building out the utility a little bit more. Also, a card that's noticeably absent is Sunforger. I'd probably add that one in also. We are talking about a control deck. Once you get that in play, you have access to a lot of spells. So anyway, those are going to be my changes. Like I said, overall, I think the deck list that the professor put out there is pretty good, but, you know, there's 5 or 10 cards that I would easily switch out and really try to bring it to the next level. And like I said, I do think Wyleth wants to be an aggro deck first. You can still run a lot of removal. I think 25 pieces of removal is a little high. 15 or 17 will still give you that feeling of having a lot of control over the game, but while also being able to play enough equipment to be aggressive and put your foot on the gas when you need to. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon, link below.